The social networks, such as Facebook, Orkut, and many others. Connected learning spaces. You can jump from one website to the other, one media to the other. Distributed learning. Content available in multiple locations, multiple packages. Real-time learning, such as Twitter and chat. The user-generated content such as YouTube, SlideShare, and many other things that you can share. Your Delicious and many bookmarking and sharing tools. Your readers, which will bring you the feeds, RSS feeds, the e-books, podcasts, audiobooks, avatars, the virtual avatars, the Second Life, where you can go and attend the class virtually. Yahoo Answers, which are always there, any type of question, you post it and you get instant answers. And e-portfolios, which you can showcase your own work on the web for everyone to see, or for the people who matter to you to see. So open educational resources are gaining in momentum. Increasingly, the quality content is becoming open to everyone, free, open educational resources. User-generated content, user reviews are becoming very important in deciding what kind of products consumers will purchase, what kind of policy you will take for your life insurance, what kind of car you will buy. So these are becoming very important today. Now, how will career enhancement happen through distance education? Let's understand this. If you look at this, there's a very growing consensus that education needs to be accountable. It's not the basic knowledge that is necessary, but education needs to be accountable. Creativity is as important in education as the literacy that we have. All the subject knowledge that we talk about is equal to the creativity that is required to use it. You may have knowledge, but it's more important to have the creativity to use it in a productive way. And if you look at that, the top jobs today were not there a few years back. Now look at the future, especially of employment and jobs. How does it look? The future is very complex today. It's not very simple. It's not very clear to say that, okay, I will become an engineer, I will join some government job, and I will have a career for the next 30 years. It's no more like that. In 30 years, you may have as many as 10 to 12 jobs. And your careers themselves may change. You may go through 2-3 different kinds of careers. You need to have a lot of problem-solving skills. You need to be able to look at how to solve certain situational challenges. The future is also very uncertain. Depleting resources, financial meltdowns, shorter and shorter life cycles, lifespans of products, uncertain environment, uncertain political climates. How do we deal with this? But there are a lot of opportunities which you can seize. As many problems there are opportunities. So what the future needs is creators, not consumers. Consumption will be a function of your income, but you need to be creators of opportunities, creators of technology, creators of new jobs, creators of new products and services. So in order to do this, it's not enough if people educate you to become an accountant, or if you want to become a software engineer, this is what you need to read and learn and pass exams and become like this. It's not enough. It's not enough if you're trained to become just a doctor. So what is required is a sort of learning which is design-based learning. How will you design your own careers? So the careers that would be more entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial in nature, even if organizations employ you, the organizations will look at you to create opportunities for revenues, create opportunities for market share. How will you do that? Create opportunities for newer and newer innovations. which the organizations can gain competitive edge from. So how do you ensure that? So look at some of the jobs that are there today. Digital ethnography. Microsoft has more than 300 positions vacant for the last 2 years for digital ethnographers. And what does a digital ethnographer do? And what is the background one should have? A digital ethnographer is a person who would design technologies, who would develop specifications for technologies in keeping with the human aspects. It's much more than human-computer interaction. Who would understand how the human is evolving and design technologies for the future. How the environment is evolving and design technologies for that environment. So you need to have basic degrees in the environment or natural science, or in anthropology, in geology, in psychology. Now these would be the persons who would fit the positions of a digital ethno, and people who understand technology very well. So this is a new position. I mean, this is a new kind of a job which was not there 10 years back. A wearable computer designer. University of Utrecht in Netherlands. It has a postgraduate course on wearable computer design. That is, how you can put a computer or a chip in every part of your accessories. Environmental finance specialist who would understand things like carbon credits, who would understand how to convert the environmental impacts into financial languages. The learning designer in education. You need more learning designers, not just teaching the subject. Ubiquitous technologist, developing technologies which would go into multiple formats or templates of technology in mobiles, in various other devices, including web and various other formats. Digital and social media planner, who would give a company a marketing plan based on social media. Consumer psychologist, who would predict how the consumers will behave for the new kind of products that we have. A media advocacy specialist, who will help using the right kind of media to promote ideas. For example, you can take what is happening to Anna Hazare today. Media has a very large role to play in such campaigns. The business analyst and modeler. The business models themselves are multiple and changing every day. So how do you create a certain business which will give you the necessary cash flows and revenues, and in what kind of niche areas should the business function? Sustainable production engineer. So it's not just enough to be a production engineer, but how to be a sustainable production engineer in keeping with the environmental requirements. So these are new jobs which are not there earlier at all, and which are very high paying prospects and a large number of jobs in these positions which are available today. So these were not conceived 10 years back. These are new kinds of jobs which are prevalent today, and the kind of learning. So these jobs, there will be another set of new kind of jobs in 5 years hence. So how will you educate people for these kind of jobs? How will you design subjects? It has to be on the fly. It has to be in a network manner. The critical surviving skills for any students today are critical thinking and problem solving. Your ability to think critically and to be able to solve problems. Collaboration. You need to be very collaborative. You need to be agile and adapt yourself to situations and opportunities very fast. Initiative and entrepreneurialism. You need to be an entrepreneur. You need to be able to spot an opportunity. It is said that a manager has to take a decision at just 40% of information available. Because if you wait for the 50% information, that means half the people know your idea already. So it is at that 40% level that you need to crack the whip and you need to strike the iron. So will you have that kind of risk-taking ability? Effective oral and written communications. Will you be able to communicate effectively the ideas that you have? Because the ideas that you're going to have are very complex, and if you're very creative, it's going to be much more difficult for you to convey those ideas to the others. So you need to have very special oral and written communication skills to present your ideas in a very effective manner to the right audience. Accessing and analyzing information is very important. How will you analyze? What are the models that you will use? And how will you access the right kind of information? And an enormous curiosity and an insatiable and limitless imagination, which is important. To imagine things that are not possible to be thought about by others, that is going to be a competitive edge. And that will come if you're immensely curious about everything that you see, everything that you come across. Asking questions is much more important than finding answers. So instruction for 21st century has to be corresponding to these skills. So it should be relevant to the students outside the classroom, because otherwise the students are not going to be interested in what you're going to be talking about. It has to keep the student highly engaged. The content has to take the student, he has to raise the right kind of emotions in the student so that he connects with the content, and then he gets engaged. And there's a flow of learning that happens. The students have a choice and a voice in learning. The student should take ownership for his own learning. So the design of the learning should be in such a way that the student is able to take ownership of what he wants to learn. That is, if he wants to write a blog, he should be able to do that. If he wants to make a video of himself and upload on YouTube, there must be a provision in the learning for that. It includes higher order thinking, leading to creativity and innovation. It should be able to make the students see the larger picture, the global picture, as well as focus on the micro aspects of that. And the learning tasks that elicit evidence of learning. There must be clear proof of learning at the end of it all. So if you look at the global trends in adoption of technology, there's increasing access to connectivity, though the internet penetration in India is relatively less at about 8%. The number of people who have internet access is larger, absolute numbers. Multi-devices for information access and communication. Increasingly, many number of devices are coming today. Decreasing funding for higher education. This is an increasing trend in especially the developed countries. In the US as well as in the UK and many European countries, given the kind of financial meltdowns and banking collapses that we have seen, higher education has taken the hit very badly. So higher education has been traditionally been supported by the government funding. Now that's not happening. So somebody has to find alternative ways to get that higher education or to deliver that higher education. Higher costs of campus. Campuses have a very big constraint in that they cannot scale up. So the kind of numbers of campuses that we need in order to educate the large number of youth that we have in India is just not going to happen. So distance education has a very clear role to play. Lifelong learning. And no more learning is limited to the BSc or BE or MSc or MTech that you do. It is much more. It has to be lifelong, not necessarily degrees, but your learning has to be lifelong in order to keep yourself marketable in the job market. And emergent paradigms of ubiquitous learning. The multiple devices that are coming today necessitates that learning should be delivered across these devices. And there's a huge scarcity of faculty. Faculty is just not available. Good, competent faculty are just not available today. So where would you get this faculty to teach in so many institutions? So this problem is not going to be solved by traditional thinking. There needs to be a very innovative thinking and solutions for this. Now today the classrooms that we see are on all the digital classrooms. We have Wikipedia, which gives you all the knowledge that you want. You have, of course, the Google. You have LinkedIn for your professional connections and learning, the groups in LinkedIn groups. You have Facebook, where you can get what's happening across all your networks. Orkut, where you can keep your friends. Harvard Business Review blogs have changed things very drastically. In fact, in 2008, I was suggesting to our university that we should be the first university to recognize blogs as a valid research forum. But then, I mean, you know, it doesn't happen in India so fast. But within a few months, Harvard Business Review came out with its own blogs, and suddenly it was all official. People started recognizing blogs as a very valid academic entity. Today, it's impossible to think of blogs as something which is outside the academic purview. There are so many blogs which are recognized as valid learning, authentic learning in academics today. The MIT Open Educational Resources is a huge and very bold initiative that MIT has taken up. Now it's coming out with certified courses which are free and open, which are with very nominal, affordable charges. Twitter is one very good way delivering quality education in 140 characters. And delivering real-time education is going to happen through Twitter. Twitter is already part of many good corporate educations throughout the world. Take the example of University of Athabasca. It has an executive MBA program where actual learning from the executives comes through Twitter and the students learn through this. So things are changing, and these are the new classrooms that we're talking about. In fact, in a recent survey